Hello everyone, very warm welcome to all of you today. Guys, today I welcome you all to the Economic Survey 2020-21 lecture by EduTap. So guys, myself Ritika, I am here to discuss with you all the details as well as the figures and facts which are relevant for your examination from Economic Survey recently released for the year 2020-21. Guys, before we proceed, I would request you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You have to click on the subscribe button and also the bell button so that you can get the daily videos which we provide on our channel free of cost. And please do join our Telegram channel also. The link of the same is in the description. There you can download the PDF and free content and quiz which are available on a daily basis. So guys, let's start with your lecture today, Economic Survey. So the most awaited survey it was for this year after the pandemic. So we will discuss at length the issues which have been raised in the Economic Survey, all the relevant things which are required for your examination, right? So this is the cover page of your Economic Survey, right? So it says volume 1 to volume 1 and volume 2 have the same cover page. I will also tell you the details of this particular cover. Why is it relevant? What are the images used here and why are they relevant for you, right? So let's start. First of all, guys, before we start, we have to know what is actually Economic Survey. So guys, it is an annual document that is released every year by the Ministry of Finance, and it provides a summary of the annual economic development across the country during the previous year. So this you have to understand because it is always confusing between, like, students get confused between budget and survey. You have to understand that budget is for the coming year while survey is for the previous year. So we can say Economic Survey is kind of a backward looking document. It is looking at the year in which you have done things, right? And budget is going to be for the coming year, how you should rationalize your spendings and all, right? Then the second important thing is this survey provides, along with the economic development summary, it also provides the details of the state of different sectors of the economy as well as the reforms which should be undertaken. So recommendations are there in the survey along with what has been done. So these two things tell you, like, from past 5 years we have been providing, the government has been providing our Economic Survey in 2 volumes. So the very first point, that is the summary of economic developments across the country, is related to volume 1, while your state of different sectors is related to volume 2. So as you can see, that state of different sectors would be telling about the various facts, figures. So data heavy volume 2 is, while your volume 1 is not data, rather it is analytical based, right? What all has been done or even the recommendations are there. Okay guys, this is all about Economic Survey. Now the important thing from your exam point of view, who prepares it? So guys, Economic Division of the DEA, which is under Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic Affairs, under Ministry of Finance, prepares this survey, and it is prepared under the guidance of Chief Economic Advisor. So basically, under the guidance is a very heavy word, guys, because the final survey has to be passed through the lens of the economic advisor. If he does not give a nod, he or she, then it is not going to be passed. The Chief Economic Advisor is the principal author of the Economic Survey. This you have to know. Guys, each and every line given here has been formulated from the point of view of your examination. The annual document produced by which ministry, what is it about, who prepares it, who is the principal author, right? And the very last thing, which is for your information, that it is presented in Parliament ahead of the budget for the ensuing year. That means the budget which is now going to be coming, if we talk about this particular year, budget will be of the year 2021-22, because obviously you prepare the budget for the coming year, right? This is what I intend to spend individually also. Same goes for the country also, that what are we planning to spend, while what have we done in our previous year is about the Economic Survey. Okay, so all important things are there. Coming to the Economic Survey of this particular year, 2020-21. So this is a very, I said it is a very awaited survey because of the pandemic. It was the once in a century pandemic, it is being called as the once in a century situation arised, and different countries had to deal with the same. Right, so let's talk about it, guys. This year's economic survey is dedicated to all the COVID warriors who upheld India and also captures the resilience of the Indian economy. So basically, COVID warriors and the ones who upheld India in this particular scenario, who were at the front line of the COVID situation, the survey is dedicated to them, and it also captures the resilience, how India actually, the Indian economy survived through this situation. And that is what this cover tells you guys. You see, doctors, nurses are there, even scientists are there. So the theme, if we talk about of this survey, is saving lives and livelihoods. That has been made possible due to our warriors only, our frontline workers only. Then second is V-shaped recovery, which tells about Indian economy's resilience. So if you see in the cover page itself, this is India you see, then at the heart there is graph of V, which tells you about the V-shaped recovery of Indian economy. And the very third thing is opportunities outweighs risks. So hopeful this survey is. You see in the picture also the coronavirus is there, and then risks are actually being outweighed by opportunities. This is what the survey is trying to tell you. So three themes you do not need to remember if you know this cover page. And you see, the colors have been chosen accordingly, green, white, orange somewhere, and the three themes is how the lives would be saved through doctors and nurses. They are portrayed there, even scientists who are working for the vaccines. Then V-shaped recovery of India, telling about the resilience of economy, and final thing is hopefulness, opportunities outweighing the risks. So this is what economic survey of 2020-21 was about. Second important thing, the static we have seen that it is prepared by the chief or the principal author is your economic advisor. So this year it has been prepared under the economic chief advisor KV Subramaniam. KV Subramaniam ji is there on this post from past 5 years. So economic survey under him only started to come under 2 volumes. So again this 5th year, this is again 2 volume survey, right? I have told you about the 2 volumes. The very first volume is about the analysis, what all has been done, and volume 2 is about the figures, facts, etc. Right? Another very important thing about this year's survey is that for the very first time it has been delivered in an e-book format with an official app for it. If you have time, I would suggest you to go to the website of Economic Survey and see the ebook. It is very interesting. You will actually feel that as if you are reading the book itself. So for very first time they have come in the ebook format, and an app, specially app, has been launched for this survey only, right? So what is economic survey and what is economic survey of this year all about? I have given you the brief information, right? Let's dive into the survey now to see what all is there. So guys, our survey, as our chief economic advisor KV Subramaniam ji has mentioned all these things in his speech. I have tried to bring this here in front of you. So the survey says that humane and visionary policy of our government transformed the lives versus livelihoods to saving lives and livelihoods. So basically the idea was lives versus livelihoods because of the lockdown, because of the pandemic. People had to work, but they were losing their lives. So the visionary and humane policy converted it to lives and livelihoods. So versus part has been removed and converted into and. This is what the survey is trying to ensue. Survey says, very first thing, India focused on saving lives and livelihoods and took short-term gain for long-term, short-term pain for long-term gain. This is the very first chapter which tells that the short-term pain is basically about the lockdown thing, that we took this pain which is very short-term, but we are now into the long-term gain. Why? Because our economy is recovering in a V-shaped manner, right? Second point, it says GDP growth is going to recover, will recover, and it has recovered. Lost human lives cannot be brought back. So this was the humane policy which government followed, that let's take short-term pain because we will get long-term gain, and let's not sacrifice the lives, human lives, for GDP growth. That was the whole idea of the policies. Then guys, third point is The only country was India to announce a slew of structural reforms. Here they are referring to Atmanirbhar Bharat packages basically. 3 tranches these packages were launched, right? PM himself, before announcing budget, PM has said that they have already announced the mini budgets in the previous year. So this is the slew of structural reforms is also referring to your mini budget wala part, right? Then it says calibrated demand side policies. So KV Subramaniam ji said that he gave this example that accelerator should only be pushed when the brakes are removed. So if you are applying the accelerator and brakes are there, it is going to be of no use, rather doing harm to the vehicle, your car basically. The same example he took and applied here, that we did not do this, rather we were waiting for the demand side to come up and then we came up with the policy thing, right? This is the very important thing. This example, you have now descriptive paper in your RBI specifically, so you can mention this example, right? You can quote this particular thing. Moving further, it says V-shaped economic recovery of India without a second wave. So it is making India a sui generis case. That means India is a unique case where there is no second wave, and also our country, our economy is making a V-shaped recovery. That is, it declined to a point and then it has started increasing again, right, with a slope. And last point is mega vaccination drive, which has been already launched. It is going to enable recovery in services. So this is all what your survey is all about, that we have saved lives and livelihoods both. For that we had to take kadwa ghoont, we had to take the pain for short term, but we took it. Then calibrated response was there, calibrated policy we brought, because until and unless brakes were removed, we did not come up with the accelerator. This is what government is trying to say. Then V-shaped recovery is already going on in India. India is on the path of it, and a vaccination drive is the most hopeful thing we are going on, because there is already no second wave in India, right? So this is the humane and visionary policy which has been mentioned. Guys, be with me, because soon we will be there on the facts and figures thing, right? So this lecture is going to be a bit lengthy, but trust me, if you cover this lecture, you go through the PDF thing, you are going to cover a lot of things required for your examination. This lecture has been designed for the requirement of the examination only. I'm not here to tell you the gyan of the government. I'm here to give you the gyan required to crack the examination. Okay? Coming back to COVID policy response. So, elaborating on the short-term pain, long-term gain wala thing. Again, the same thing. This was also in the chapter of the Economic Survey Volume 1, that we focused on saving lives and livelihoods. One very important thing which was mentioned on survey specifically was Spanish flu. So they say that lessons from Spanish flu were tailored and made to India's unique vulnerability setup. So Spanish flu was mentioned, that we have taken lessons and tried to tailor it for India's requirements. Then focus on saving lives in worst case scenario, that if there is a worst case scenario, we will go to focus to save lives and not GDP, because GDP can grow but human lives cannot come back. This is what the idea was. V-shaped recovery again, and then upturn in economy while avoiding a second wave of infection. So this is again a sui generis case. So the previous thing which we have read, the gist I gave you, this is what explained again in your ensuing chapter. Taking you to the fiscal developments parts, guys. This is what government is trying to tell, that in this economic survey, what they have done in terms of development. Calibrated fiscal approach which was adopted by India. Calibration, you have to see that whenever required, precision, they were waiting for brakes to be removed, rather they very smartly removed the brakes and then put on the accelerator. Okay. Expenditure policy which was initiated at supporting the vulnerable sections. PM Swarnidhi, they said we first brought for the street vendors, like very small loans we brought and then reoriented it for ramping up the capital spending. So we started with small and then we have now taken it to the full-fledged form. Then GST and reforms in the tax administration were also mentioned in your economic survey. It has specifically been mentioned that monthly GST collection has crossed rupees 1 lakh crore in the month of December 2020. So this is highest since the inception of GST. from 2017. So basically they are trying to tell that economy is on the right track. If people are paying, GST is being collected, that means we are doing well. Then reforms in tax administration have been incentivized. Government has been doing a lot of things. In your finance current affairs or your other current affairs, you might have been reading about the tax incentives which government is providing, or the tax amnesty schemes. So all those things were mentioned here, right? So this is about fiscal development thing which government has taken place. So you see, very, very smart approach they have followed. Government is trying to say that we calibrated our approach, then we started small and then put it out across for all these sectors, and then our economic recovery is also on the V-shaped path. Then guys, this was your chapter 10 of your volume 1, which was about bare necessities. This is the name of this chapter, and in this chapter of the volume, government economic survey says that access to bare minimum necessities, that is water, housing, sanitation, microenvironment, has improved in the year 2018 in comparison to 2012. So basic necessities, bare necessities have been provided. There has been improvement in all states, which means that interstate disparities have gone down, right? In terms of bare necessities. So what are the bare necessities? Please note them down: water, housing, sanitation, and micro environment. So environment is also there, right? Climate change you can never forget in today's scenario. So interstate disparities have gone down. Then next point is that access has been improved disproportionately for the poorest households, that more access to the bare minimum facilities, necessities has been provided to poor households in comparison to the rich one across both the sectors, rural and urban, right? Then bare necessities has also led to increase in health as well as education. So health education is anyhow a part of the syllabus of the examinations, right? This is what bare necessities led to the increase: health and education. This is what economic survey is saying, guys. This is, I am not saying all these things, please understand. Okay, all these things, right? Bare necessities, what are they? Has there been a decrease in the interstate disparities, or what did it cause? Health and education improvement. These are the basic things you had to know about the economic survey, right? Now we will proceed to the most important part, that is the facts, figures. What is the state of the economy going on in the survey? The question in phase 1 of RBI grade B, NABARD grade A, and even phase 2 has always been there from this part only, right? Now because you have descriptive paper, so you need to know about the basic dimensions which I have told you in starting of the lecture. Okay, so in this particular state of the economy section, we are going to cover 4 things: GDP, inflation, current account balance, and fiscal deficit. Then we will move to know the performance and state of the various sectors of the economy, right? So guys, if we talk about state of economy, the very first thing we are going to talk about is GDP, gross domestic product. So GDP growth at constant prices, if we are talking about real GDP, it for the year 2020-21 is minus 7.7 according to economic survey, it has been mentioned. And 2021-22 they say it is going to be 11%. IMF has projected it 11.5, so they are taking the same and say that 11% we are projecting the growth in the coming year. So nominal GDP growth rate of 15.4% is going to be there in the coming year, while if we talk about constant price, then it is going to be 11%. You have to be very sure about, do not get confused with nominal and real wala part. Nominal is your inflation adjusted, hai na? So real GDP growth is 11% for the coming year according to economic survey. Very, very important. And survey mentions that in the previous year, GDP declined by 23.9% in the first quarter, and the second quarter was less gadbad. Okay, it was better off. So 7.5% decline was there. Overall GDP is expected to decline by 7.7% as compared to the growth of 4.2%. So see, you have to understand that in the previous year, provisional estimate says 4.2% was the GDP growth. In the year of COVID, it is going to be minus 7.7, but in the coming year, we are going to shot up to 11%. This is going to be a record if it is attained. Right, so these figures you have to keep in mind because they have been taken directly from Economic Survey. Moving to inflation, guys, after GDP, very important thing. See, so this infographics I've tried to incorporate so that it becomes easy for you to see the picture and keep the graph in mind. So when we say inflation, we are talking about CPI combined, right? So the inflation is expected to be 6.6 for the year 2020-21, while WPI is minus 0.1. So guys, CPI was 6.6, this you have to know, and this inflation was due to food inflation, which increased from 6.7 to 9.1. So the idea is that you have to know first of all what was the CPI for the gone year, that was 6.6%, and what was the major factor for it, right? Because you have to keep in mind these figures, so it is important to understand and then keep in mind rather than see the ratification. So due to the food inflation, because when there was a lockdown thing, when there was people could not go out to work, so there was a toll on even food. So that is why you can say that food inflation, which increased itself from 6.7 to 9.1%, this led to increase in this CPI, right? This is very important for you. Okay, ji, CPI and WPI both have told when we are talking about inflation, it's 6.6. Earlier it was 4.8, you see, right? In the previous year, 2019-20. Taking you to current account surplus, current account balance or surplus, we say it. So for the year 2020-21, it is going to be 3.1% of GDP. It is written clearly, current account balance as percent of GDP is going to be 3.1%. In the first half, it was this, right? And very important thing apart from this, the survey is expecting that current account surplus is going to be at least 2% of the GDP by the end of the year. So in the first half it was 3.1. By end at least 2% it is going to be, and if it is sustained, it will break a 17-year trend of current account deficit. So we are going to be in the current account surplus when we talk about current account balance. So 17-year trend is going to be broken down if we sustain at least 2% of it in the end of the year, right? Now, what is the reason for this surplus? क्यों इतने मेहरबानी आ रही है surplus की? तो guys, surplus is due to the reduction in the merchandise imports and lower expense on travel services. People were not traveling out, there has been no import and not major even export. So, higher decline in current payments in comparison to the decline in current receipts. This all led to your current account surplus, and 2% is the projected one by the end of year. And what will happen, this I have already told you, it will break a record of 17 years. So that is why it is important for you. Okay guys, taking you to fiscal deficit wala part, guys. So fiscal deficit survey, yes, survey has noted that budget estimate for 2020-21, the deficit is going to be 3.5% as percentage of the GDP. It was 4.6 in the previous year, 3.5 in this year. This figure, do you need to keep in mind? Of course, yes. Economic survey is saying this, you have to keep in mind. Okay. Survey noted that country was fiscally strained due to disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic. So, pandemic, was it the reason for being our country fiscally strained? Yes, it was the direct reason. This can be a statement in your exam also, that which could be the reason for India being fiscally strained. COVID-19 pandemic, guys. And as of November 2020, fiscal deficit was 135.1% of the budget estimate, and earlier it was 114. So it has increased, right? So if we come here as percentage of the GDP, it is 3.5% of the GDP. Fiscal deficit, right guys? So after covering your fiscal deficit, let me just take you back quickly. So we have covered your GDP, current projection for the previous year also, and wherever it was possible, I've already also told you for the coming year. Then we spoke about CPI combined, even WPI told you. Current account surplus, I've told you, this year we are going to sustain after a 17-year record, and fiscal deficit, 3.5%, right? So these are the 4 parameters which we have discussed broadly, which were given in your economic survey, right? Now, I will take you to the performance of various sectors, guys, right? So what all sectors are we going to discuss further after the 4 things we have discussed, the dimensions? The sectors are going to be agriculture and allied activities, industry, infrastructure, service sector, health, banking sector, and credit rating and innovation. So all these things we are going to cover. What survey mentions, what recommendations it is trying to give, that also we will try to cover. So this part is going to be the most important part, right? Coming to agri and allied activities. So guys, agri and allied sectors, growth rate of GVA, gross value added at basic price, is going to be for the year 2021 3.4%. Declined from previous year. It was 4% earlier. Now it is going to be 3.4%. This is as per the first advanced estimates. Now, those who are preparing for NABARD examination, guys, you have to keep in mind this advanced estimates, because it is either economic survey thing will be mentioned in your exam, or first advanced estimate, or if second comes at that time, then that will be asked, right? But for RBI students now, you have to keep this in mind. And why is this sector important now for you? Can you tell me? If specifically you are preparing for RBI grade B examination, guys, in your ESI section syllabus, agriculture has been added, the developments related to the same. So that is why this section becomes important for you, right? So guys, in 2020-21, the growth rate is estimated to be 3.4%, which is less than previous year. But let me tell you, my dear friends, just 4 to 3.5%. So this tells that agriculture has been the silver lining of our economy. This has been specifically mentioned in the survey, that agriculture has been the silver lining. Contribution of the sector to GVA has declined from 18.3 to 17.8% in the past 5 years. 14-15 से 2019-20 तक it was 18.3, now it is 17.8. But we are expecting it to increase in the year 2021. So guys, overall, if you see, if we bar this year, it says from 18.3% in 2014-15, now in the coming year, it is going to increase 19.9% GVA contribution we are talking about, right? Overall growth, growth rate of GVA, if we talk about, then it is going to be 3.4%, and this is the silver lining of economy. Agriculture was the only sector which was doing actually good. We have realized the importance of agriculture in this pandemic thing. Let's not talk about farmer protest. No farmer, no food. I'm not going to talk about that abhi ke liye. Let's just move to your next part. Hanji, food grain production, I've mentioned it because NABARD ke liye to important, this is going to be anyhow, but for again RBI this is going to be important. So first advanced estimate says that for the year 2020-21, the total overall food grain production is going to be 144.5 million tons, which is quite less than previous year. It was 296.7. First advanced estimate says 144.5. It is going to increase nevertheless by the end of the year. Okay, please keep this figure in mind. Moving to your industry and infrastructure. So we will be covering your agriculture, followed by industry infrastructure, then which will be followed by service sector. Okay. So guys, industry, a very hard blow to the industry sector has been there. Growth rate of GVA at basic prices has declined like anything, minus 9.6 guys. We were not doing earlier also really well in 2019-20, 0.9%, but minus 9.6 now. Industrial sector is estimated to decline by this percentage. Within the sector, highest decline is estimated in the construction sector, 12.6, followed by mining sector. Do you need to know these two sectors? Yes, of course. If food inflation was the one which was causing CPI to rise, you had to know this. Then you also have to know this, that due to the, what are the factors which have not factors, which sectors rather than factors, which sectors have caused highest decline in the industrial sector, GVA decline, growth decline. So construction 12.6, closely followed by mining. Okay, please keep this in mind, and 9.6% for industrial sector, the growth estimate. Now, contribution of industrial sector to GVA has itself declined from 32.5 to 25.8 in the coming year. So, agriculture we are at least expecting to rise in the coming year. For this sector, industrial sector, we are not expecting it to rise. Okay? So, it has declined from 32.5 to 25.8. So, the trend is very important. For other examinations also, you have to know the trend. But for our RBI and NABARD wala exam, you have to know the figure exactly. ठीक है जी. Talking about service sector, guys, service sector, although India has been relying on service sector a lot, but the estimate says that it is going to decline minus 8.8. So it does, the service sector is estimated to contract by 8.8%. Again, here the most contracting sectors would be trade and hospitalities. Why trade and hospitality? You know the reason. Trading has been impacted because there is very less demand, so there is no trading. Small traders are out of the picture now. Small MSMEs, they are the backbone of economy. They are not doing really well, guys. The picture at the ground level, ground zero, is not good. So that is why trade, MSME hai chota wala sector, that is out. Hospitality, why? You are not going out for tourism, right? हॉस्पिटैलिटी का मौका ही नहीं दे रहे हो किसी को, तो बिकॉज पीपल डू नॉट हैव मनी. सो दैट इज वाई दीज टू रीजन्स, ट्रेड एंड हॉस्पिटैलिटी, हैव कॉज्ड सर्विस सेक्टर टू डिक्लाइन. नॉट ओनली दीज टू, बट द मोस्ट दे हैव कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड. द रीजन which has caused service sector to decline. ठीक है, minus 8.8. Software services was the only subsector with positive growth in the April to September period. तो जो software service है, that was the only good lining, silver lining वाला part. It was the only subsector which had shown positive growth. Rest all have shown negative part only. ठीक है guys, service sector growth minus 8.8, 5.5 it was earlier. Acha, one important thing here, I've added it at the end. The net services export receipts in the first half of 2021 was 41.67 billion. This is actually higher than the service export receipts in the first half of 2019-20. So net service export receipts has increased due to this software service wala part. Okay, I've added this. This is not very important, but please keep this figure in mind if you can. It will be helpful for you. There might be a question on it. Chalo, moving to the very important sectors now. We have done with your agriculture, industry, service. Now we'll be talking about health, banking, innovation, etc. Okay. So guys, healthcare has come under spotlight. We have finally realized that health is actually the central point. If we talk about universe, so the central point of our lives is health now, guys. Okay. I'll talk about the scenario also. I want to tell you that the scheme Ayushman Bharat PMJAY, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana, has found specific mention in economic survey. It was given appreciation that it has enhanced health insurance coverage. Economic survey says this. The proportion of health insured households has increased in the states which implemented this scheme and declined in the states which did not implement this scheme. This is what survey is trying to say. The states which opted for this scheme, their health insured proportion increased by 54%, but who did not implement it, it declined by 10%. So 54% rise aaya hai if the states went for it, right? This is what very important from the survey point of view, right? Apart from this, coming to your other findings, a survey says, survey has given actually the recommendations, economic survey. It says that to respond to pandemics, health infrastructure has to be agile, it has to be flexible, it has to be fast moving. Emphasis on national health mission should continue. Ayushman Bharat is also a part of it. Then guys, it says public health care increase should be there. Currently, it should be from 1% to 2.5 to 3% of GDP and it can decrease out of pocket expenditure from 65 to 35% of the overall healthcare spend. Currently, our healthcare expenditure is 1%. It has to be 2.5 to 3%. This is what survey has suggested. You should know this figure. And India is the country with the highest out-of-pocket expenditure. That means out-of-pocket expenditure means when a person falls ill, has to go to the hospital, then from the pocket itself you have to give out the money. There is no insurance with you. That will decrease to almost half if we double our healthcare expenditure. If government is going to double the healthcare expenditure from 1 to 2%, out of pocket expenditure is going to decrease from 65 to 35%. This you have to keep in mind, right? Then they say regulation of health sector is required because there is information asymmetry. So that is why National Digital Health Mission is going to be launched by the government. It has been announced. You have to know this. Okay. Then mitigating information asymmetry can actually lower the insurance premiums and also enable the offering of the better products. Telemedicine needs to be harnessed to the fullest. Yes, agility when we were talking about, so we were also referring to telemedicine. It has to be there. You see our COVID warriors, a beautiful picture depicted by Economic Survey. Okay. So guys, these are the recommendations from the survey that we have to increase healthcare expenditure. National Digital Health Mission has to be there. So there is less information asymmetry and we have more symmetry in the information. Telemedicine has to be there. Consultation or teleconsultation has to be there. And specific mention was given to Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. Right? Chalo, moving to the banking sector, guys. So banking sector, the term which has been used in context of banking sector in the economic survey is regulatory forbearance. Regulatory forbearance basically means that regulator is going to forbear. That means it is going to come up with measures which allow banks to restructure certain loans rather than change the asset classification. Right. So banks should be allowed to restructure their loans. This is what regulatory forbearance should be there. In the survey, it was mentioned that regulatory forbearance continued after the economic recovery from global financial crisis 2007. 7-8 there was this global financial crisis wherein the regulatory forbearance came up, but it continued after that also, which was detrimental and it did not do good to our economy. This is what survey has said. So they said that because of this regulatory forbearance which continued long after the crisis led to an increase in NPAs and also reduced the credit growth once the measures were withdrawn. So basically the idea is that you continue your forbearance for a very long time even if the crisis is gone, and when you take it out, then there is no credit growth going to be there. It is just like, guys, let's say a child has fallen down, right, was not able to walk properly. You try to provide the support, then you keep on providing the support, and after you should have taken that support, but you are still being out of your love for the child, you are providing the support, not your love for Malya, guys, love for child, that particular bacha, you are providing the support. And when you, after so many years, take out the support, that bacha has forgotten to walk. The bacha is asking for the support now because he is not aware how to walk now. That is what happened with our banks. This is what has been mentioned in the economic survey. And they have also suggestions given. They have said, the very important suggestion is that regulatory forbearance should be discontinued when the economy exhibits recovery. It should not be continued for years. This has been mentioned that it should be discontinued, guys. Then second recommendation is asset quality review exercise must be conducted immediately. As soon as you remove the forbearance, there should be a review exercise. That means when you take the support from the bacha, when the bacha could not walk, you should see that is he able to walk properly? What all measures are still needed? Just do not leave the guy there itself, that chal ab chale apne aap. That should also not be there, right? Asset quality review exercise should be there. Then guys, legal infrastructure for the recovery of loans need to be strengthened. So basically, we talk about your bad banks, insolvency, bankruptcy code. So such measures have to be strengthened. These are the recommendations of economic survey in terms of the banking sector. So the term of the day, term of the survey is regulatory forbearance. that we have done a mistake, we should not repeat it, we should always provide the forbearance but should take it out when the recovery is there. Then exercise review should be there, and always infrastructure which are legal in terms of recovery of loans have to be strengthened. This is what your survey is telling about the banking sector in our country. ठीक है, fair enough. Talking about credit rating ji, हाँ जी, India has not been given good rating. So our survey is saying we have a reason for that. They say our sovereign credit rating is not anywhere telling about economic fundamentals. This is what Subramaniam ji said, that probably this sovereign credit rating is not in favor of the economies which are growing like China and India. They are actually biasing towards us. So credit rating, first of all, what is it? Let me tell you that. ठीक है, अच्छा, I went to the depth of it. Let me tell you credit rating as mentioned in the survey. So guys, credit rating basically maps the probability of default, reflecting the willingness and ability of the borrower to meet the debt obligations. So if India's credit rating is not good, that will tell that probably India is going to default more on the loan. Why? Because it is either not willing or not able to pay. But India, economic survey says India has many reasons for not going with the bad credit rating. Sovereign credit, sovereign है तो nation की बात हो रही है, right? What is the India's case? As survey says, they say we have zero sovereign default history, which they are right. We have zero sovereign default history. That shows that we are willing to pay. That is why we do not have any default history. They say we have extremely low foreign currency denominated debt of the sovereign, that there is very low debt which is in foreign currencies, which is a good thing. Then they say we have a comfortable size of the forex reserves. We have good forex reserves. We have less foreign currency denominated loans. So that means we are even able to pay. Willingness is not only the reason for you to rely on us as a nation, but you should be able to rely on us based on our ability. So they say, this has been mentioned in your survey, guys, that because of our history, you can see that we are willing to pay. Because of our less foreign currency loan, we are also even able to pay because of our forex size, good size. So survey recommends that India's fiscal policy must not be beholden to a biased measure of India's fundamentals. So basically there is a biased measure against the growing economies like China and India. This has been mentioned in the survey. ठीक है, India's credit rating should not reflect our fundamentals in terms of GDP, growth, inflation, government. K.V. Subramaniam ji gave a brilliant example. He said that if you are able to take debt and then make money out of it, let's say you have taken a debt and you have borrowed some money and given that money to someone else and you are earning that amount in between. So that is a good thing, right? Because you are even able to repay the other person's amount, you are able to help someone and also earn. So that is what we are doing, and this credit rating is not telling good about us, right? So the current rating, which is if not good, which is biased, is not anywhere near to our fundamentals. This is what survey says, and we should not be beholden because of this. We should go as we are feeling right to do so. Okay, very beautiful thing. This has been expressed in the speech of K.V. Subramaniam ji. So I was so convinced with his speech when he explained this thing. Innovation, guys, hanji. Not last, like in innovation, specific mention of Global Innovation Index was there. So this index becomes very important for you. So all the latest index before your examination, launched in 1 year before your examination, or at least 6 months, you have to know. But this has found specific mention in the survey, so you must know. India's rank was 48. So it says that India is the first nation among the Central and South Asian countries to be ranked at 48th position. So first in our padosiyon mein, neighbors may we are the first one. So this you have to know, right? Now what innovation is needed and what is the current situation, this I'll tell you. Guys, the survey says that India's gross domestic expenditure on R&D, research and development, is 0.75%. That is, it is even less than 7%. 7%. We are even not going good with our 7% thing. So it is less than 7%, right? Acha. I am now sorry confused in this less or zyada wala symbol. Please forgive me for that. So India's gross expenditure is really less. It of 0.65% of GDP, much lower than top 10 economies. Then it says Indian government sector's contribution is 3 times the average of government's contribution in top 10 economies. Now what is happening here, guys? The total, if we see the gross expenditure, is really less. It is dismal, 0.65%. Whereas other economies are doing it 1.5 or 3% even, right? So we are doing it really less. Second, out of that 0.65, the majority of the contribution is coming from government ends, which is 56% of the total GERD, gross expenditure on research development. 56% is coming by the government, whereas business sector, private sector contribution is lowest in India in top 10 economies, despite liberal tax incentives for innovation. They say, government says that we are providing tax incentives. We are telling you to come forward and do the patents. We are telling you to come forward and contribute and spend on R&D, but you are not doing so. They say it is 37%, which is lower than large economies contribution, which is 68%. So, ho kya raha hai, guys? That R&D is really less, spending on R&D is really less. Jitna hai, usme se bhi highest is by government, 56%. And roughly 36 to 37% is by business sector, which should not be the case. Rather, private sector should come up. Elon Musk ko dekho na, aao aage invest karne ke liye. This is what government is saying. Then Indian residents contributed only 36% of the total patents filed in India. So it is again really less, that we are not coming forward for innovation. Jugaad innovation will not work. Frugal innovation will not work. This is what has been mentioned. They have used this jugaad word here. They said jugaad innovation is not going to work. You have to come forward and invest. R&D mein karo and you have to do really well. India must, this is the recommendation, India must significantly ramp up the investment in R&D, which needs major thrust by business sector. 2% of GDP jana chahiye. So the idea is that India is currently spending less than 7% on R&D. It has to go beyond 2%. Out of that 0.7%, which is 0.7%, 56% is coming by the government itself, and 36% is coming by the private sector, which should actually be vice versa. This is what government is saying. So all these things have been mentioned on the economic survey. Our index has been mentioned. So you have to know about all those things. Okay, ji guys. So that is it from my end, guys, in the economic survey highlights. I hope you are able to grasp the most important things. I've tried to tell you the facts along with the reason so that you can understand the underlying concept and the figure. Like, let's give me an example. You should know India's GIA rank. You should know what is India's spending in GERD. You should know what is recommendation by the survey. 1 से 2% हो जाना चाहिए health spending. So all these things you should know, and I've tried to incorporate it in the best feasible form I could. So that's it, guys. Thank you. I hope you have enjoyed the lecture. If you did so, please drop a comment below. Please do spread this lecture, and you can also tell us that what would you like to do in MCQs form. Like, do you want us to come up with a quiz on economic survey on YouTube? Although we have plans, but you can also come up with your own ideas, right? So that's it, guys. Thank you. This is our Hall of Fame. I really wish the students who are working hard are also here soon on this Hall of Fame by EduTap. So do check out our courses, guys. We are offering courses RBI Grade B, NABARD, SEBI, EPFO. So please check out the courses and drop us a mail at hello@edutap.co.in. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel. Do not forget to like this video. Do not forget to drop your comment. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. Wishing you all the very best from the entire EduTap team.